In the previous video we discussed the power rule, which was a tool for us to figure out the derivative of specific functions. So if we have f of x is equal to ax to the b, we know that f prime of x, which is the derivative, is a times b x to the b minus 1. Now if you don't know this, I want you to watch the previous video before you come to this one. Now, this power rule doesn't always apply. There are certain functions where you simply have to memorize its derivative. And the proof for those derivatives will be in later videos, but for now, we have to do a bit of memorization, which we try to avoid, but sometimes you cannot. So let me tell you what functions those are. So let's start with trig functions. In this video, we'll talk about the exceptions, which are trig functions. So trig functions are, for example, f of x is equal to sine of x. Well, we know that this f of x equals sine of x looks, let me draw it a little bigger, looks something like this. Starts at 0, and then it's oscillates with a period of 2 pi, right? Now, the derivative of f of x equals sine of x, which again represents the slope at any given point on the curve, is cosine of x. So it's a bit weird, but this will start making much more sense once you start using it and once you actually see the video of the proof. But f prime of x, which again is the derivative of sine of x, is cosine of x. So let's write that here. Say that. So we'll make a little chart here, and we'll talk about all the, as we go, we'll fill in the chart. I'll write it right here. The first column will be the functions, and the second will be its derivative. I'm sure we'll be able to fill this up. Alright, so the first one we just found was, so here we'll say this is f of x, and this column is f prime of x. So the first one was sine of x, so let's fill that up. We know that if our function is sine of x, then its derivative is cosine of x. Now the next one is cosine of x. If our function is cosine of x, well, pretty symmetric here. Its derivative is negative sine of x. Negative sine of x. So cosine of x starts at 1 and does something like this. Again, with a period of 2 pi. Its derivative, which means its slope at any given point, is defined by the function negative sine of x. Another really popular one is if we have let's write the same color. We have tangent of x as our function. Its derivative is secant squared of x. Secant squared of x. Let's see. And there's a couple other ones. And you can, if you search on the internet, if you search up trig derivatives, it will show you all of them in a very nice chart, and you can have that in your notes, and which will help. So again, in this video, we just quickly went over some derivatives of trig functions, and I said that we cannot use the power rule, and you'll understand why in a few videos from this one. But for now, memorize these trig function derivatives and use them to find the slope of the tangent line at any given point.